Goff and Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Another sport like the NBA, which is dealing with its own, scandals, so to speak, and its own headlines with the FBI and what else comes, because this is the same FBI team that also brought the NBA scandals to light. So I'd have to imagine they're working on some other stuff as well right now, and the timing is definitely not a coincidence, but definitely some very significant news in the gambling world that now you're not going to be able to bet more than $200 on a specific pitch market.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
You need Justin Jefferson on that wall in the playoffs. Like, you got to go get him. He is still the man. I understand the JJ week last. I get it. It was ugly. There were a lot of spots where, where's he throwing that ball to? What's he doing? It'll be fine. Justin Jefferson's far too talented, and McCarthy will continue to figure it out. But it's the target volume you want. He gets double-digit targets every week. He is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on...
Folks, what do you say? Little pro football today to get it going here on a Sunday on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh, and that is Joe Lisi. We are loaded for bear on this Sunday slate. Joe, how we feeling?
I'm feeling good, and actually a great slate. But I think the 4 o'clock slate a little bit better, maybe.
Than usual or the ones?
I think it's better. Well, the ones I feel have some garbage games. I really do.
I'm going to say this.
Tennessee, Seattle.
It's a game we're going to talk about early, and I know it's going to be a compliment to a team that maybe you aren't too interested in complimenting. Kansas City playing at 1 feels big.
Okay.
It's like, Chief game. They're always 4 o'clock.
It feels like,
and it's a big game.
Feels like a playoff. Obviously, it feels like a playoff matchup. But that 1 o'clock kick would give that wild card type of first round type of feel.
Yeah, I like it. I think this is a really fun slate here. We've got Eagles-Cowboys that we're going to get into heavily. Great one, on Sunday night between Tampa Bay and the Rams. You mentioned there's some big spreads out there. I just want to say this off the top. We'll expand on this in a little bit. Confirmed, no Aaron Rodgers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This confirmed this morning. All of the reports out of Pittsburgh were that Rodgers wanted to go. This was going to come down to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers team doctors here. Joe, your just reaction to the fact that this will not be Rodgers going for the Steelers?
Well, I think you have to look at the team perspective, right? This team is fighting for a playoff berth. Their lives are on the line today against a red-hot Chicago team, and even though it's Aaron Rodgers, it's a wrist injury, non-throwing hand, but you still have to make sure that he can handle the football, which potentially leads to turnovers, right? Especially when you're in a road type of environment, and Mason Rudolph gives you the best opportunity to potentially push the ball down the field and win this game. It's the right decision, Kev. And I understand it's Rodgers, but at the end of the day, he takes one hit, or he can't make a handoff, or he fumbles the football and puts the team in a detriment early on.
Yeah.
You can't have that if you're Mike Tomlin.
No, this is a spot, Joe, though, where all the 2.5s are gone. I see flat 3 everywhere. I will tell people this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some other games coming up and what we've seen. At 3.5, I really like Pittsburgh, because I don't think you have a gap between injured Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. Be honest. I don't know how much of a gap there is between healthy Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. I really don't. This, to me, looks like a Tomlin spot, and the Bears have been playing with fire. This is a Chicago team who is incredibly capable of winning this game and not covering. We'll talk about all of these different outcomes, but I think to lead into this show today, we have to look back towards Thursday, where the AFC as a whole feels so up for grabs. The teams with the best records have unproven quarterbacks. And it looked like Buffalo could trend towards that exception. A win against the Tampa Bay Bucs with Josh Allen having 6 total touchdowns had everybody feeling good, myself included. Joe, I played Josh Allen following that game to win league MVP. I bet the Buffalo Bills on Thursday night against the Texans. Wrong and wrong.
Right.
And I think that is one of the most panic-inducing losses we have seen for any contender this season, as they were dropped by that incredible Texans defense and Davis Mills.
Yeah, they were exposed. And I think you could look at 2 games in primetime this year where potentially Josh Allen looked mortal, right? It was the game against Atlanta where they sacked him early and often, and they had speed off the edge.
Yeah.
And the Thursday night game against Houston. Now, we know the NFL – it's a professional elite league, right? Yeah. And matchups matter. This team beat down Josh Allen last year, held Josh Allen to 9 of 30 attempts, right? It had one of his worst performances last year, and that secondary, we said in the pregame and leading up to that, Kevin, can play man-to-man coverage. That allows DeMeco Ryans to utilize blitz packages off the edge, put a lot of pressure on Brown and that offensive line for Buffalo. They struggled mightily. They couldn't pick it up, and that's how you contain Josh Allen. Josh Allen is lethal, obviously, when he has a clean pocket, but when he can't be mobile, when he can't improvise, when he has to stay there and you get pressure right up the front and off the edge, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, James Cook outside the big touchdown run was limited as well, and they could not get into any type of continuity on the road, and we've seen it now in 2 primetime games against faster defensive fronts. Maybe they're not as big as Myles Garrett and the Cleveland, defensive front, but they can run sideline to sideline, and they have linebackers that can run off the edge, and that's all you need.
Houston is trending now to being a dangerous team because they have, Joe, the best defense in football.
You go with Davis Mills is my question.
Not even for a second. Not for 1 second. Davis Mills was primed to be destroyed in that game. He started the game 1 for 8. One of the reasons Davis Mills was able to turn it around is Buffalo has one of the worst defenses of any contender in football, if not the worst defense of any contender in football. Pair that with Josh Allen getting the turnovers back.
Right.
And all of a sudden now, and I can't stress this enough, Ravens, Chiefs are each 5-5. We talk about this trio of quarterbacks in terms of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, right? And whose year is it going to be? Can one of them knock off Pat? And everybody, this is Josh's year. Hey, guys, this is Josh's year. And they, like they always do, beat Kansas City in the regular season. And since that game, have screamed it from the mountaintops. We're not a real threat. We're not a real threat. Josh isn't going to be able to play clean enough football with this bad of a defense to make a run to the Super Bowl. And I think that is how to evaluate this team right now. And I will say this, Joe. They weren't the only loser in that game. That wasn't good for Kansas City. Because the Kansas City Chiefs now have another team to contend with when we talk about the wild card spots. They've already lost the head-to-head to Buffalo, so it's not like they're interested in Buffalo being down there in the mud. And the Chiefs game after Indianapolis is against the Texans, who will enter with, at worst, the same record, having another must-win game for Kansas City loom. I want to just start with this. We're going to break down Chiefs-Colts here. It's a massive game, 3.5-point spread. Total right now around 49.5. How much pressure do you think there is on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid going into this game against the Indianapolis Colts?
Well, I don't know if we define it as pressure because, again, they've been in the spot before. What I mean by, big games and obviously championships and Super Bowls, but it is a must-win game to stop the bleeding and beat a team potentially that is at the top of the AFC odds, right? Yeah. Indianapolis has a better price now than Denver, Buffalo, Kansas City, and Baltimore, and deserving, but it's still Daniel Jones, and you have to take care of business. Look, the loss to Denver last week, you and I sat on this desk, and we both liked the Broncos.
Yeah.
I said I thought they had the wrong team favored, and people laughed at that, but it was true. Denver was the hotter team with the better defense and an identity. And again, we talk about all these teams, Buffalo, Kansas City. One week they're good with the passing attack, right? The next week it's non-existent. You know, is there a pure number one in Buffalo with Josh Allen? I don't know. You tell me. But Pat Mahomes has to dial it up today. This Colts defense has been suspect. They can move the football on them. Can they take advantage? I'm not so sure. I actually think Indy matches up well offensively against Spagnuolo's defense. But again, pressure-wise, I don't think they'll be fazed by the pressure, meaning, you know, it's a must-win game. I just don't think Kansas City's as good as we've seen in recent years. I think they've been exposed this year.
So I think there is pressure because they've not been in a situation like this in the regular season. They've not played a game during Week 12 where if they drop it, they're under 500. And let's be clear. You've talked about this team being vulnerable for a while, right? But and the market didn't agree with you during a lot of that, right? It's inching closer to your way. You said it last week, and I give you credit. I like Denver. I expected a cover. I wasn't sure about a win. You said wrong team favored. Here's why I say this. If the Chiefs lose, the books will fully agree with you, as Kansas City will be a favorite to miss the playoffs.
Right.
With a loss here to the Indianapolis Colts, that's a different type of game we've not seen this team play in during the regular season. We're going to run up against our first break here on Pro Football Today. When we get back, can the Kansas City Chiefs hold off the Indianapolis Colts, or can Indy go up a tier in perception and knock off the Chiefs? That is next right here on SportsGrid.
Let's play our game of buy or sell. It has been a season to remember for Drake May. As of right now, May and Matthew Stafford are the favorites to win the NFL's MVP. Who had that at the beginning of the year? You probably could go through 20 quarterbacks before you got to Drake May as predicting winning the MVP. After this season, buy or sell, we will think of Drake May as the best quarterback in the 2024 draft class. Is this buy or sell? He certainly wasn't going in.
All right, for those who don't know, we're talking May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. A lot of interest there, right? A lot of interest there as far as those QBs. He's going to be the best. I mean, this is a question I would normally just take the field, right? Because I'll assume that Jaden Daniels has been really good. You know, while he's hurt now, Caleb Williams is getting better and better. I'm still not giving up hope on the other three here as far as Penix, McCarthy, and Nix, although I would certainly have May well above them. So I think for me, it's either Daniels, it's either, Williams, it's either May. Isn't this recency bias? Last year we would have, it's Daniels. By far, it's Daniels. Now because he's hurt, hasn't had a good year, it's Drake May. I'll sell this just for the sake of it, Craig, here, but I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I got Jaden Daniels still. I can't go this far with Drake May. Maybe second best, but it's not even about taking the field. We're having recency bias here. Jaden Daniels, to me, will still be awesome. So next year for Daniels goes back ahead of Drake May.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Indianapolis Colts. Arguably the biggest game on this slate, as KC is a 3.5-point favorite against the Colts, who come off of their bye week. The Chiefs are looking to not only avoid going 5-6, Joe, but a third straight loss for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career. Now, some have tried to say that that's actually already happened because he lost the Eagles in the Super Bowl, then week 1 to the Chargers, and then week 2 to the Eagles. I think that's a little silly. I think those are different things. As far as 3 consecutive wins within the same, or 3 consecutive losses in the same season, we've not seen that. And if I tracked it correctly, this team is not only 5-0 in avoiding that, straight up 5-0 against the number. I find myself drawn towards Kansas City in this game, but I've seen them win and not cover quite a bit. I know you're going to give me a hard time for this, and I'm okay with it. I'd love that hook to disappear. That hook's giving me the willies, Joe.
It's scaring you?
Yeah,
See, it's interesting because they're dominant home team. They're 4-1 straight up at home. They're 5-5 overall. They have struggled in road environments. Yeah. We brought that up obviously last week in Denver and Mile High, and obviously true to form, they struggled. Right now, I think it's just the matchup: Daniel Jones versus Pat Mahomes. You're going to tell me Daniel Jones, who's 8-2 with this football team, right, is going to waltz into Arrowhead and potentially win this game outright or cover 3.5. I actually think they match up well. And we talk about multiple players to expose or challenge that Spagnuolo defense, right? You know, you need a solid tight end. Well, Indy has that with Ty Warren. You need a dynamic running back. They have that with Jonathan Taylor, not just with the rushing attack, but with the screen game and the short to intermediate passing game. You have above average receivers in Pittman, Pierce, and Downs, right? And you have a quarterback that's mobile in Daniel Jones. And I understand he's been turnover prone, but they have won 5 of the last 6, right? They've won those games by an average margin of victory of 16.2 points per game. Now, people will say, well, the combined record of those opponents is only 16-34, but they did knock off the Chargers, right? They found ways to pull these games out and dominate by double digits. And again, they're playing with house money. And I just think, and I understand the pass with Daniel Jones. Yeah. I just like Jonathan Taylor. I like Ty Warren today. We know about Kansas City's inability to cover tight ends. That's always a problem. I think he could have a big day. And they have a similar, better offense than Jacksonville, which beat them outright, right? I like Indy today. And again, it's going against conventional wisdom. I get it. Backs against the wall. Kansas City needs the win. They can't lose this game. I'm taking the 3.5 today.
I will say for Kansas City, one of the things that makes me like them is we have seen them bow up as a run defense, I think, throughout the history of this team. I know they were ran on by Buffalo. That is, I think, actually the best overall rush offense in football. I think James Cook's been special this year. And Josh Allen as a runner, I think, is another level up from Daniel Jones. I also think you respect the pass attack of Buffalo a lot more than they will Indianapolis. They're going to want to put this on the arm of Daniel Jones. If you think back to that Super Bowl game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, look, I've given Spags a tough time for this, and I think actually rightfully so. He sold out so much to stop Saquon Barkley. He never adjusted, and that's why the dagger happened, and Hurts just lit him up for 3 quarters. Really, it was a blowout. He didn't even have to play in the 4th. They abused that team. We should probably throw that game on somewhere. But they're going to give – I think they're going to have a good shot at trying somewhat bottling up Taylor. But I also expect Mahomes here to just go up a level, Joe, because I don't think over the last 2 weeks it's a point-the-finger spot for Pat, right? Under 50% completions against Buffalo. Didn't run at all. 1 interception, no touchdown passes. Last week against Denver, costly interception. Got bailed out on throwing maybe the worst interception of his career. That Jahdae Barron pick 6 that was called back. Again, no scrambling. I think we see Mahomes run around quite a bit in this game. I think it's a multiple passing touchdown performance for Pat Mahomes. I think, sometimes you've got to be willing to trust these guys, right? You want to pick your spots, right? You absolutely do. I also think a DeForest Buckner absence could still loom large for this team. We haven't seen the Colts play in a little bit, but they put Buckner on the IR, and we saw them play against Atlanta, and that Falcons team moved the ball in that game, Joe. They nearly knocked them off in that spot here, so I'm very drawn towards KC in this spot. I want to get your thoughts. We're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and the New England Patriots. I just want to start with this. the week that was for the Joe Burrow news. full participant. Here he comes. Here we go. And as it gets closer and closer, I know I kept telling people he's going to start. And I'm like, man, doesn't it feel like he won't play, and then they'll lose, and then it'll be like Burrow's going to be like, you know what, 3-8, why bother? I actually was never coming. I'm thrown off on it all. In case you've missed it, though, no Joe Burrow today, inactive. Eyes on maybe a Thanksgiving return. It's Joe Flacco. But just how surprised are you with how this is playing out for Joe Burrow?
Not that surprised because, again, they bring him back to practice, but they are in a spot that worse than last year, right? And that was with him in the lineup where they had to win out to potentially make a wild card, and they missed out. And, again, they're in a situation now. They're basically dead and buried to make the playoffs. So why risk your franchise guy that is coming off, the turf toe ligaments and risk him more injury and set you back next year? I mean, the way they're going, Zach Taylor's gone at the end of the year, right? I mean, we're not suggesting that Zach Taylor's coming back, is he?
Well, I think.
I mean, come on.
I
mean, the way this defense is, this is a complete overhaul of the team next year. You keep the big three. You have Chase Brown.
Yeah.
And now you just look to bigger and better things with a new head coach. I just can't imagine Zach Taylor's going to be on the sidelines next year.
I think, though, Joe, while I'm not saying I disagree with you, I think you're looking ahead. I think this Burrow news tells us they're trying to stay within this season and see what this season can be. And
I liked them today, I will say that.
So we're going to break that game down, in a second. I will just say this. This Joe Burrow return, whether it was, today or potentially next week against Baltimore, as someone who, again, go ahead, played the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. I can see that smile. It is not encouraging. It is frustrating. Not at Joe Burrow. That this team could not win some of these close, gut-wrenching games, and it feels like Burrow has a chance upon return. Can Flacco stun New England? That's next.
Let's play our game of buy or sell. It has been a season to remember for Drake May. As of right now, May and Matthew Stafford are the favorites to win the NFL's MVP. Who had that at the beginning of the year? You probably could go through 20 quarterbacks before you got to Drake May as predicting winning the MVP. After this season, buy or sell, we will think of Drake May as the best quarterback in the 2024 draft class. Is this buy or sell? He certainly wasn't going in.
All right, for those who don't know, we're talking May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. A lot of interest there, right? A lot of interest there as far as those QBs. He's going to be the best. I mean, this is a question I would normally just take the field, right? Because I'll assume that Jaden Daniels has been really good. While he's hurt now. Caleb Williams, he's getting better and better. I'm still not giving up hope on the other three here as far as Penix, McCarthy, and Nix, although I would certainly have May well above them. So I think for me, it's either Daniels, it's either, Williams, it's either May. Isn't this recency bias? Last year we would have, it's Daniels. By far, it's Daniels. Now because he's hurt, hasn't had a good year, it's Drake May. I'll sell this just for the sake of it, Craig, here, but I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I got Jaden Daniels still. I can't go this far with Drake May. Maybe second best, but it's not even about taking the field. We're having recency bias here. Jaden Daniels, to me, will still be awesome. So next year for Daniels goes back ahead of Drake May.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
The Cincinnati Bengals and the New England Patriots play in what was trending towards, that was an exciting game of the day. Joe Burrow versus the Pats, and then you look up, no Burrow, no Chase, New England off a mini bye. What are we doing here? And I got to tell you, Joe let the cat out of the bag a little bit, that he likes the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, Joe, you're not alone.
Uh-oh.
I think Cincinnati might win this dang thing. I really do. I'm taking a plus of 7. I think this is a zag spot.
Yeah.
I am so serious. If you said, hey, do you want to bet Cincy plus, I don't know, what was this going to be? 6, 4,
3
with Burrow?
Yeah.
Or do you want to bet him plus 7.5 with Flacco? Give me the old man. I think this is a weird spot for New England now. Riding high, they win every week. I think it's 8 in a row. You go in, you're like, all right, Cincy, this should be a rollover. And then it's Burrow, and you're like, oh, boy, we got to play Burrow. We got to lock in, dial in. And then it's Flacco, and that comes right down. And then you come down here a little bit. 7.5 is a lot of points against the Cincy offense that we have seen move the football with Flacco still. That's the thing. I hate to say it, but so far the way these games look with Flacco look exactly how they did last year with Joe Burrow. Maybe New England puts up 50 points, and that would be quite something. And maybe that's just how dialed in this group is. I think, despite everything I've said, I think Cincinnati is live here. I bet him plus 7.5.
I liked him today. Now the only thing I'm struggling with is the 50.5 because perception is, this game's going to be a rocket ship. Drake May and Tampa got through that a couple of weeks ago, right? He's going to put up numbers. Everybody scores on Cincinnati's defense. And let's not forget, last year it was flipped. Cincinnati started the year with New England and lost the game to Jacoby Brissett, right? Outright.
Revenge,
right? Now, the numbers, Kevin, we're right on the numbers. So let me explain. So to your point, they've won 8 straight, New England. Hottest team in the NFL. They've won by an average margin of victory of 11.7 points per game, right? They're 5-0 on the road this year. They've won those games by an average margin of victory of 7.6 points per game. Right on the number.
On the road.
On the road. Right on the number. There you go, baby. Throw me the ball, Gino. Remember that?
But let me come over the top with what you just said there. They've only won by a touchdown on the road once. It was against the Titans. Again, we all know Titans don't count.
Terrible.
I mean, that's just one of the most ridiculous.
This potentially has the markings of maybe I'm going to say it's an under just because I can't buy in without Chase there. Now, maybe Yoshi Vash and, all these other, secondary options outside of T. Higgins step up. I do like Gesicki today at 40+. I altered him. He's back in that lineup. But I think it has the markings 23-20. Maybe New England wins. But I still think the 7.5 is premium. I like the Bengals today.
I feel like I beat you to the market a little bit on since he can win this game. I think you think it too. Now let me say this. Do you think T. Higgins is a little too popular here in this game?
I do, just because, again, look at the game where they played an explosive passing attack, and Mayfield struggled with Ibuka in that game a little bit.
And Mecca, 100 yards and a touchdown.
I know, but
let me tell you this, Joey, my boy.
But it was a struggle.
I know you were going to bet Chase Brown, and that is okay. But T. Higgins is in a prime.
You think he's going to pepper him the way he would if Chase is there?
I
think
sure
15
do.
targets?
I sure do. And I'll add on top of this. T. Higgins' last 3 games played without Jamar Chase, he has averaged 134 yards per game.
You're going to get me bought into this.
One of those games was with Browning. So that's not all Burrow. We're getting a depressed number here.
Depressed?
Because Flacco's in.
All right.
This, I think, might be 20 yards higher if Burrow was at quarterback.
Okay.
I think we're getting a depressed number here. The Patriots have allowed 8 different players to have a 90 receiving yard game against them.
I know, but let
69 and a half.
But let the Ibuka number, he hit on one play in the first quarter. He hit that big touchdown, and then Mayfield struggled. What do you mean no?
I mean, he had a 31-yard grab. The touchdown wasn't even that long. Listen, it was a 21-yard
I like
pass.
Gesicki, I like Brown, but let's just be in agreement with the 7.5. Yeah, because I can't take Higgins. I feel like everybody is going to be on Higgins today.
Can I tell you what I think? And this, maybe I'm a fool. I think everybody is in run and hide mode because they thought they were going to get the chance to bet on Burrow.
You think they're not betting this game? as much?
I think
with old man Joe Flacco?
I think everybody's thought is I would be if Burrow was there, maybe Flacco, no way.
All right.
And I think Flacco gets in the mix here. I really do.
All right.
And I think that means.
So why don't we take May and Flacco then, just as a precaution, 600? Let's just see.
I mean, are they even giving it? What's that pick? I mean, what's that?
The total's high.
What's
today.
that? Plus 150?
I have to look.
Eagles Cowboys is on deck right here on Pro Football Today.
Let's play our game of buy or sell. It has been a season to remember for Drake May. As of right now, May and Matthew Stafford are the favorites to win the NFL's MVP. Who had that at the beginning of the year? You probably could go through 20 quarterbacks before you got to Drake May as predicting winning the MVP. After this season, buy or sell, we will think of Drake May as the best quarterback in the 2024 draft class. Is this buy or sell? He certainly wasn't going in.
All right, for those who don't know, we're talking May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. A lot of interest there, right? A lot of interest there as far as those QBs. He's going to be the best. I mean, this is a question I would normally just take the field, right? Because I'll assume that Jaden Daniels has been really good. While he's hurt now. Caleb Williams is getting better and better. I'm still not giving up hope on the other three here as far as Penix, McCarthy, and Nix, although I would certainly have May well above them. So I think for me, it's either Daniels, it's either Williams, it's either May. Isn't this recency bias? Last year we would have, it's Daniels. By far, it's Daniels. Now because he's hurt, hasn't had a good year, it's Drake May. I'll sell this just for the sake of it, Craig, here, but I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I got Jaden Daniels still. I can't go this far with Drake May. Maybe second best, but it's not even about taking the field. We're having recency bias here. Jaden Daniels, to me, will still be awesome. So next year for Daniels goes back ahead of Drake May.
Fantasy Sports Today, Friday starting at 3 p.m. only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you right here on Pro Football Today. Lisi. I cannot wait to get your thoughts on Eagles Cowboys. Okay. Because this is an ear to the ground game. I've been antennas up, listening. I've been listening. And I got to tell you, I have been positive of what you would think about this game up until this moment.
Really?
I don't know why. Maybe because we're now here at the moment. I'm getting, what's he going to say?
Right.
What's he going to say? Dropping number. It's down to a 3.
Yeah.
Eagles Cowboys in Dallas.
Yeah.
The red hot 1-game win streak Cowboys against the Raiders on a short week, getting a lot of love against the hopeless defending Super Bowl champion, current Super Bowl favorite Philadelphia Eagles. What do you see here?
I think they get smashed today.
Who?
Dallas.
Yeah, my man. My man, 50 grand. You already know.
Look, this is...
You already know.
And if you think that by watching them dismantle the gutless Las Vegas Raiders and a terrible offensive line, like an old man Geno Smith that looked like a deer in the headlights, that all of a sudden now Dallas is back. This is 1993. I mean, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Mike Irvin are walking out there. I'm just saying. I understand the performance. Great. I was on Pickens on Monday night. Yeah. In that performance, and Dak, we said, would attack that defense over the top because that's exactly what Jacksonville did in the 1-point win.
Right.
Las Vegas is pretty good against the run. Yeah. They're not good against the pass, and that goes right into Dallas's strength. But in this matchup, where this game is going to be determined, obviously, by them trying to stop Saquon and Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts, I think Hurts has a huge day today. I think he steps up. I think A.J. Brown's live. I think the passing attack is live. I think Saquon could. I think they win this game by 17+. I don't even think it's close.
Joe, I love what you're saying. I really do. And I want people to be very clear about something.
And I'm not an Eagle fan, by the way. No. I'm just saying, I see it. This is the best team in football. And anybody that debates that, look, we could sit here. There's 32 teams in the NFL. And you want to talk about the upper echelon, the top 5, they all have weaknesses. Philly's weaknesses are much less than everybody else's, as far as I'm concerned. And they have the best defense in football. So let's see Dak attack that defense at home. We'll see if he can do it. I think it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love what you're saying there. But, Joe, just for the people, they might think, oh, K-Dobbs, we know he's a Birds fan. Joe, do I bet the Eagles every week?
No.
Now, I will tell people this. I'm betting them this week.
I bet the Eagles every week.
You do. You do. And that's why I was excited to talk to you about this game. So I laid the 3 with Philadelphia. But it doesn't really have much to do with Philadelphia. The Dallas Cowboys have told us who they are again and again.
Lost to Arizona.
And again.
They lost to Arizona.
Oh, right. But apparently that doesn't matter because they beat the Raiders. I don't know how many times people have to be fooled by this team. Week 1, they hang with Philly. Then they have this light show performance against the Giants. And people are like, hey, is this team for 31-14 smashed by the Chicago Bears? Dak Prescott, terrible. And then all of a sudden the pressure's off, so they tie with Green Bay and they beat the Jets. And you go, wait a minute. Is this team good? Nope, they lose at Carolina as a favorite. Defense gets absolutely torn to shreds. But then they smash Washington. And people are like, I think this is the best offense the league has ever. Cover your eyes. Dak Prescott abused, embarrassed, and ran out of the gym by Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. They were doubled up nearly in that football game. And if that wasn't enough evidence, they get rocked by Arizona, as you said, at home. And now they beat the Vegas Raiders, and they're like, man, Eagles could be in for a long day. Oh, yeah, but the offense struggled against Green Bay and Detroit. Oh, you mean really good defenses? Oh, you mean maybe 2 top 5 defenses in the National Football League? And I'm supposed to believe Dallas traded for Aaron Donald and Quinn. I'm sorry, I missed those numbers. I missed those statistics. Dak Prescott against a good defense, that's looked ugly all year. Dallas against offenses with a pulse, just a beat, they're just enough, is looked all year. And then there's just one more factor to come over the top. The best player in the entire NFL plays today. Kelly Green, Saquon Barkley. Eagles were in the Kelly Greens today.
No, that's
every single
Freddie
time.
Barnett, Kelly
People
Green.
will tell you that the Eagles don't lose when the Kelly Greens are on. And while that is true, I'm a little more interested in what Saquon Barkley does when the KGs are on. 159 and a score against Jacksonville with another 40 in the receiving and a score against Jacksonville in the air. 167-yard day against Dallas last year gets him over 2,000. This year against the Giants, $150 and a tug on the ground with another 24 and a tug in the air. This is a Saquon smash here, Joe, against the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I think people are also going to go back to the last time they played, which was week 1, and say, oh, Dak moved the football and right, and that offense looked okay. That was also week 1. And this now in back-to-back weeks, as much as people want to beat down the Philadelphia Eagles, right?
It's true.
And all these gurus on, other networks that I've called out, and I'll be happy to have a debate. If this was the Kansas City Chiefs, and their offense was puttering along
like all of last year.
Exactly. They were still the best team to potentially win the Super Bowl, weren't they? No matter how good the Eagles were playing, it was Kansas City. Yeah. You have to defeat Pat Mahomes. Nobody seems to think that the defensive effort put forth by the way, 2 teams that we were crowning NFC champions, Green Bay and Detroit, after basically the first 4 weeks of the regular season, matters, right? I mean, we shut down Jordan Love and we shut down Jared Goff. Doesn't matter because the offense only put up certain amount of points, but they won those lower scoring games. The Eagles just won 2 playoff games in back-to-back fashion, shut down 2 of the most prolific offenses that we've seen in the NFC, and they get no credit because now they're playing Dallas. I'm tired of it. Again, the game is going to be won in the trenches, and yes, the additions that Dallas made by letting Micah Parsons go might have benefited them to some degree, Kenny Clark, and obviously now with Quinnen Williams. But this isn't a dominant front seven. Let's be honest. Geno Smith.
They're awful.
I'm just saying, though.
They're awful. The
Geno
Raiders
Smith
are
attacked
awful,
them
and so
over
are
the top.
Cowboys. People are talking about Dallas making the playoffs. Have some shame.
No, but the bottom line is this. The Eagles are the best team in the NFL, hands down. If you had a bet right now, which team, if I did, to win the Super Bowl, it's the Eagles. It is.
Now I'll say this, and this is where I have to come in and temper off the Lacey Eagles talk.
But again, we look at this objectively. If this was the Walrus and Pat Mahomes, and I'm talking about Andy Reid,
I got you.
I'm just saying, like, this is what we do.
This is what So Philly is there in terms of Super Bowl favorite. Here's what I would say. I look at the Eagles season right now, and if you said, hey, Kev, are they going to win the NFC? Eagles or the field, right? I'd feel the field is a bigger favorite, and it should be. Just hold on. Just hear me out, okay? Because it is hard to repeat. It is hard to go back-to-back. It is a very difficult thing to do.
Okay.
And the Eagles have not had enough consistency, okay, to make me think 100% it is them. But to your point, when you do look around the entire league, right, who do you feel great about? A Rams team who the Eagles have their number on? A Packers team, a Lions team who the Eagles just beat? Sam Darnold and his 4 interceptions? That's where it becomes, again, the field is a bigger favorite.
Right.
But specifically picking that team is a far more difficult task.
If the Bucs knock off the Rams tonight, what happens then?
Well, Joe,
then all of a sudden, and the Eagles win, then, the Eagles are back. They didn't go anywhere.
About that game next on a Sunday nighter, Baker versus Stafford, right here on SportsGrid.
Let's play our game of buy or sell. It has been a season to remember for Drake May. As of right now, May and Matthew Stafford are the favorites to win the NFL's MVP. Who had that at the beginning of the year? You probably could go through 20 quarterbacks before you got to Drake May as predicting winning the MVP. After this season, buy or sell, we will think of Drake May as the best quarterback in the 2024 draft class. Is this buy or sell? He certainly wasn't going in.
All right, for those who don't know, we're talking May, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. A lot of interest there, right? A lot of interest there as far as those QBs. He's going to be the best. I mean, this is a question I would normally just take the field, right? Because I'll assume that Jaden Daniels has been really good. While he's hurt now. Caleb Williams, he's getting better and better. I'm still not giving up hope on the other 3 here as far as Penix, McCarthy, and Nix, although I would certainly have May well above them. So I think for me, it's either Daniels, it's either, Williams, it's either May. Isn't this recency bias? Last year we would have, it's Daniels. By far, it's Daniels. Now because he's hurt, hasn't had a good year, it's Drake May. I'll sell this just for the sake of it, Craig, here, but I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I got Jaden Daniels still. I can't go this far with Drake May. Maybe second best, but it's not even about taking the field. We're having recency bias here. Jaden Daniels, to me, will still be awesome. So next year for Daniels goes back ahead of Drake May.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on SportsGrid. Wait, what's that? No, we shouldn't do a full segment on Jeremiah Love and how incredible he is? All right, that's fine. I guess we'll stick to the pro game for now. You're getting off easy, my friend.
Oh, really?
You think I don't remember some of these Notre Dame comments? I heard them. Rams Bucks on Sunday night. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too.
I really am.
I
want to say this. When you look at this game here today, in terms of, what's on the line, for the Tampa Bay Bucks, Joe, I think it's quite a bit. I understand that if they lose, they will remain favorites in the NFC South. But if this team is rolled up on, I think, to your question that you've asked earlier in the season about why they didn't get a lot of respect in the market, I think you're going to be getting a resounding, here, look, this is why. I know they are not healthy, fully healthy, but a 3-game stretch of New England, Buffalo, and the Rams is very tough. But I think if you want to feel like one of the contenders, you have to go out there and, if not win one of these games, you can't be getting handled. And they were down double digits with a minute left against New England. They got the backdoor touchdown. They nearly got a backdoor touchdown against Buffalo, but all in all, they did not. They lose by 12. I think this is a spot for the Bucs' status here, Joe. They need to step up. What's interesting, though, is it looks like a lot of bettors are expecting it. This number started at 6.5. Everywhere, we see a 7 now for this game.
Yeah, and again, I understand why. The Tampa Bay offense has been inconsistent with all of those playmakers out. They do get a benefit today. Godwin is back in that lineup, and I think that'll help out the passing attack, take pressure off of Abuka, and obviously maybe open up K-Dot and underneath in this matchup. But again, I'm not sold on the Rams being an elite football team. They're a good football team. They have a very good defense, but I still think they can be exposed. We saw Sam Darnold, be Sam Darnold last week, right? 4 interceptions. And they still were in a position to potentially kick the game-winning field goal with no time left. I think Baker on the road in this spot, plus 7 points, I think they're live to win this game. And again, I like Tampa Bay in this spot. I like Baker as an underdog. The fact that Godwin comes back, we saw the emergence of Sean Tucker running the football and catching it out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. He accounted for 3 touchdowns. That's an added dimension. You couple him with Rashad White now potentially on third down situations. I think this team could expose the LA defense over the top. Again, I outside of JSN last week, right?
Yeah.
I still not bought into the complete wide receiver core of Seattle. Just overall, I think their defense carries them more times than not. But to me, Tampa could expose L.A. over the top. And I think the defense, edge rushers can get to Stafford. I'm not sold that they're just going to be able to move the football at will here.
So I'm going to tell people this right now. I know we sometimes tease them throughout the show. My best bet, and we'll expand, is Tampa Bay plus 7.5. Last night there was a 7.5 at minus 115, and I thought that these numbers, I thought that was actually going to become the closing number across the board. That number has since gone, and we're sitting 7 everywhere. Now, I still absolutely like it at 7. I will just say this. I think time is on your side. I don't think this gets back down to 6.5. I would be a little surprised by that, Joe, all in all. But as far as why do I like them, whether it be 7 or 7.5, is not, I think we've talked about Tampa needs to prove something. The Rams are coming off of a spot that I think is a bit draining. I think when you play these, hey, is this a conference championship preview? Hey, this is an MVP battle. I think that can be, Joe, a tick exhausting. I think that can take a bit out of you. Let's just use Buffalo and Kansas City as examples. Each of those teams, right, following those football games, went out there and lost. Kansas City losing off of a bye to Denver. Buffalo losing against Miami as a big favorite. I think if you look at it for a Rams team who not only played that, again, defense played their tails off against Seattle. 4 interceptions, they nearly lose it. I think for the Rams, there's a bit of a come down, to me, from that spot, and they're on the winning side as well, which I think helps, because sometimes you get up right?
Right.
And I just think the number is disrespectful to who Tampa is. That's what it comes down to me. I really, really do like the Bucs here. I want to ask you this, Joe. Part of the reason I bet Josh Allen to win league MVP was not just the path I thought Josh had. Obviously, it looks like I'm going to be way wrong. It's now triple the number that I bet it at. I struggle to believe Stafford is actually going to win league MVP, but I might be just off here.
Yeah,
and he's the favorite for a reason.
They love him, though. That's, you see, and we talk about these awards, MVPs. He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford. So any opportunity, if he's above average and they're producing and they're winning games and they're 9-2 and 12-2, which I don't think they're going to be, but if they're at that type of position and Stafford is putting up numbers, not turning over the football. Prior to that win last week, what do you have? Over the last 6 games, 20 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, he was on a heater. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they're gonna. I think right now, statistically, yes, he's deserving just because of how up and down the NFC has been. But at the end of the day, we're talking about winning championships. And is my money going to go on the Rams to win it all? No, it's going to be on Philly. And again, that's how I judge them. What's the best team in the NFL or in the conference? Can they challenge them? Sure, they can. But at the end of the day, I think if they played the game, like I told you, 100 times, Philly's winning 90 of those. I just think they match up against the L.A. Rams. I honestly do. And you're talking about a quarterback in Hurts that's a winner, and Stafford, yeah, he's at the end of his career. He's a one-trick pony. It's Puka and everybody else. Come on.
I would say just from the Stafford MVP case, I do think there is clearly, maybe they just think it's their best option. So let me take that back.
They have 2 losses. That's why.
No. It's when they're inside the 5, no team is more likely to throw than the LA Rams. Let's talk about our Sunday morning crunch. Favorite prop plays. Those are next.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what I said earlier.
He got hit behind the line of scrimmage. He got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
When I think of the European tour, these are the players I'm thinking of, right? So I understand why that they would be so frustrated by all this, but they also know that there are rules in place that, from a competitive standpoint, that if you're a member of this tour, like, you can't go join a rival tour. Like, there's rules in place, just like in any other business.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Green Bay area and the Philadelphia area, you would get on ABC normally.
Yes.
But they didn't have ABC, so they couldn't get it locally.
Yeah, it just, you have to ask the question, like, nobody wants to hear from Bob Iger during the Monday night game when 10 million people are blacked out from watching the game, and you not ask him about when the blackout's going to end.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You know what time it is? Sports with you right here on a Sunday morning. We've got a lot of good stuff still to come. NFL insider Adam Kaplan will be joining us, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow. But before that, it is time for your Sunday Morning Crunch. SportsGrid. What do we like here, my man?
So, some of the usual suspects on mine today.
All right, he owns it. Hey, he owns it. All right. People are in their living room.
Am I supposed to go in order of how they're listed? Or
you have your
well,
own...
because I have a 4 o'clock first, so that's why. I'll give the 1 o'clock.
Whatever you want to do. No,
yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
So now we get the Mason Rudolph news coming out of Pittsburgh. I originally was going to make that a best bet for the show, just so you know, with Streetball Williams over the total of 46.5, because I think both offenses are going to chuck it around. But now, when I looked at the number and I said, DK Metcalf has to have a huge day today. And I understand he hasn't broken basically 60 yards in like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
49.5 for this type of game? Really? Against a suspect secondary in Chicago and defense? I think he blows through this. I altered him as high as 70, 2-1 at 70-plus yards. I think DK has to be an option today. I know those tight ends. I know Warren, and they want to run the football, but DK, to me, has life at 49.5. The other early one, we know famous Jameis is going to chuck it against this Detroit team. Most likely they're going to be trailing the whole day. I'm not going to Darius Slayton. I'm not going to Wan'Dale Robinson. Heck, I'm not even going to Theo Johnson. I'm going to bad man Isaiah Hodgins.
That's great.
At 18.5.
Right.
That's one reception, Kev. Yeah. 18.5, I mean, and distribute the football. All I need him to be is like the old Chris Paul, who, by the way, retired. Did you see that? I threw that out there for you, too. All right? Kyle Pitts, too, is my 4 o'clock option. 50.5. It's the only weapon that basically Atlanta will utilize in the passing attack because it's Kirk Cousins. Some people in this studio might bet Mooney. I'm betting Kyle Pitts today.
Have you been getting the Mooney sell again?
I don't know, 150 plus for Mooney. Actually, I should check around and then bet Mooney if nobody's on Mooney today.
Can I just say something? And
you like the Chris Paul?
I do. He didn't retire yet. He's just going to retire.
But I get threw it out there. I got the alert.
This NFL insider, NBA insider, Joe Lisi. Can I say something?
You could always say something.
I know what your best bet is. I was wanting you to get back to a 1 o'clock, and the fact that you considered Steelers-Bears, I'm now going to be real watchful eye. That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect.
You like the nickname, too, Streetball Williams.
I like you at 1 o'clock. I like you at 1 o'clock. I've been trying to get you off these 4s. Last week, didn't you get knocked around at 4 o'clock?
Yes, we were on I think a 3 or a 4 game win streak. And
listen, you've been great.
We lost last week with the Denver. It was the Denver KC game, and we had life. I mean, if they don't kick the field goal, game goes to overtime.
Yeah,
it was what was it? 19-16 last week. 35. We missed it by 10.
No, didn't it finish 22-19?
Yeah, so that's what it was. It was 19 up. We could have gotten overtime and gotten it with a touchdown.
I like you at 1.
This is the total.
I'd like to get you back.
Chicago, Pittsburgh, Streetball Williams, and Mason Rudolph.
All right, so for me today, I've talked about a few of these. As far as wide receivers go, I am not scared of any, it's too obvious to play T. Higgins. I think some of the Flacco being in there has removed that, and I think that's evidenced by the number. 69.5 is way too light. With Jamar Chase absent, you have seen Higgins average nearly double that in his last 3 games without Chase in the lineup at 134 yards per game. And I think it is important to note one of those was with Jake Browning. Number 2, Saquon Barkley. We've talked about that. I know it's out of order, but I want to get the ones we talked about, on the board already. Saquon in the receiving game, Joe.
Really?
15.5. Saquon Barkley went for 24 in week number 1. 11 running backs have cleared this against Dallas this season, and they've only played 10 games. And they've given this up to 11 running backs. I think Barkley breaks out in the air. Plus, he's wearing the Kelly greens. Lastly, folks, Shedeur Sanders starts today. We'll talk about that. I've had sources tell me Lisi is going to step up to the plate in an appropriate fashion as it pertains to that game. I love it. I love it. But I think the smart move is to get involved with Quinshon Judkins, one of Lisi's favorites, over the 69.5 rushing. I think this is a breakout spot for Judkins. I think he's going to be pushing towards 20 to 25 carries in this game. He has a prop of 18.5. Last week was the first time he had 17 carries or more and didn't go for 70 yards. This is a spot where I think you see Judkins get loose against the Raiders. We got lots still to come. It's right here on SportsGrid Pro Football Today.